The number one best-selling book of all time is the Bible. Now, most people think that the Bible is a book about religion. In actuality, it's actually a book about the story of a king and how he brought his kingdom here on earth. Now, along with giving the stories and the details of the greatest king that ever lived, Jesus Christ, the book is also full of other stories, other lessons that anyone can benefit to learn and apply to their own life, and not only improve, but completely transform how they act, how they behave, and what kind of life you want to live. Now, one of my favorite stories in this book is the story of Joseph and his brothers, which is in Genesis 37:50 to be exact. I'm going to give you guys a quick summary of this story. The story goes that Jacob, who also was known as Israel, had 12 sons. And of his 12 sons, Joseph, who was the 11th son, was his favorite. In the Bible, we learn that he actually gives him a red coat, which in those times signified that he was the favorite son. As a result of this, his other brothers had much hatred for him, much despise. Now, to make matters worse, one day Joseph awakens from a dream and goes on to tell his brothers that God gave him a vision of him being a ruler of all, and that everybody would bow their knees to him. His brothers were obviously furious and hatched up a plan to actually kill Joseph. So they went out into the wilderness, threw him into a pit, and because of one of his brothers having a change of heart, they ended up just leaving him there. Eventually, one of his brothers went back looking for him to find out he was no longer there. While they were gone, a group of traveling merchants passed by and found Joseph there. He was sold twice through two different groups, eventually landing in Egypt and working as a house servant for one of the main officers for the Pharaoh. He did great work. The officer was very pleased with him. And at a certain point, the officer's wife lays eyes on Joseph and tries to seduce him. But because Joseph was a man of God, he declined any sort of invitation. And because the wife was both embarrassed and scared that Joseph would come clean about her actions, she had him tossed in jail under false pretenses that he came onto her. Joseph made no avail to change his story and ended up in jail with two men, a baker and a butcher. It's while he's in prison that he reveals to them that God gave him a gift, which was the ability to see and translate dreams that others have and explain to them what they mean. Eventually, the butcher is killed, the baker is released, and Joseph asks the baker before he leaves to remember him. The baker says he will, which he does not. However, 2 years down the road, the Pharaoh is tormented with nightmares. He tells the baker about these nightmares, and the baker then remembers Joseph and remembers about his ability to translate dreams. Then they bring him out of his prison cell. The Pharaoh explains to Joseph the dreams he's having, and Joseph interprets him. The dreams, and lets him know that the dreams he's having is about a famine that's going to be coming, a 7-year famine, where for 7 years they will have great agriculture, great crops, a great harvest, followed by 7 years of hunger, of desperation. The Pharaoh is so grateful for what Joseph tells him that he essentially makes him his right-hand man to serve over all of Egypt and helps him guide and avoid severe hunger throughout the nation. Now, it's at this point that Joseph's brothers, long already accepting that he's died and is only a memory, are in a state of famine, eventually go to Egypt looking for food. They show up begging on their knees, not realizing that they're bowing the knees to their brother. Joseph recognizes them and actually sends them back and says, "Bring me, there's someone missing." Joseph, as happy as Joseph was to see his brothers, he wanted to see his youngest brother, who was not there at the time. So the brothers go back. They tell their dad, he's requested that we bring our youngest brother. His dad says, "This is a trap. I'm going to go with you guys." When they show up, Joseph can no longer contain his happiness for seeing his brothers. And his brothers are actually very confused by all this because they assume that he would want to kill them at this point. But Joseph has long accepted, always being a man of faith, that everything that happened had to happen for a reason, and brought his dream to reality. Now, again, I went through this story very quickly, but there's 5 very important lessons in the story that impacted me greatly the first time I read it, and I love sharing that story with you and with anybody that's willing to hear it. So here we're going to go over 5 key points in this story told through the book of Genesis. Genesis 37:5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. So many people, when they have a dream, a vision of having a great life, of making a great change, they make the mistake of going and announcing it to the world, to their friends, to their family, expecting others to be happy for them. You have to realize that if you're going to make your dreams come true, that if you're going to make the changes that you want to make in your life, you have to be able to accept the fact that almost no one is going to cheer you on when you aim too high. You're going to bring out certain insecurities. You're going to bring out dreams that never evolved. You're going to bring out things in people that they didn't even realize were there when you start telling them of how big you're thinking. So lesson number 1, keep your dreams to yourself. Keep your dreams to yourself till they become a reality, and you don't have to explain them to anybody when they're able to see it come to fruition. Genesis 37:24. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. As I said, a big reason for Joseph's brothers' hatred towards him was the obvious favoritism he received from their dad. So let this be a lesson to you, whether in regards to your family, whether in regards to your work team, whatever it may be. If you're in a position of authority, of power, make sure that you treat everybody fairly and equally, because by openly gloating about one, you're now inviting jealousy and envy to creep in. And as it happened for Joseph, no one can imagine how far things can go when people have hatred for someone else based on your actions. Number 3, Genesis 39:20. And Joseph's master took him and put him into prison. Now, Joseph could have easily gone ahead with the officer's wife's advances towards him. He could have done the easy thing. He could have lied. There's so many ways he could have gone about it, but instead he chose the noble. He chose the higher way, to be honest, was willing to accept the consequences. So many people are willing to lie, to live a life of shame, in order to avoid doing what's right and doing what's true. So make sure the standards you have for yourself coincide with the man you want to be when you're standing in front of God and explaining your actions. Number 4, Genesis 41:40. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. This is what the Pharaoh told Joseph after he brought him out of the prison. Never deny your gifts. Never play less so other people can feel better. Because denying the gifts God has gave you is disobedience at its fullest. It's you not living the life that was intended for you through the gifts that God gave you. And number 5, but as for you, ye thought it evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. This is what Joseph told his brothers when they came to him and told him, aren't you mad at us? Don't you want to kill us? He told them, what you did for me was for evil, but what God had planned for me made it good. So if you're going through a hard time in your life right now, if you think that you're just having bad luck after bad luck, if you can find faith in these moments, you can rest assured that God is going to bring you out of it and have something greater for you in the situation, in the season that you're in right now. But you have to make sure that you stay walking the straight path, that you keep your visions clear, that you treat people right, and God will take care of you. I hope this video served you. As always, we ask that you like, subscribe to our channel, and that you may all be blessed.